Hello, everyone. I am Kristen Stuppy. I am with ADHDKC, and this is one of our newer podcasts that I started with the fabulous Jeremy Didier. And I am going to welcome our first ever parent group speaker who is going to join us on the ADHDKC CHAD chapter of the Kansas City metropolitan area. So Leila Lawson has a fabulous history, and I am excited to hear more. I have met Leila briefly, but she is a police officer and life coach, and I'm excited to learn more about her and what she's going to be talking about at our meeting in August. So her talk is going to be about executive functioning, and she's going to tell us a lot more about that and herself. So first, can you tell me a little bit about your job as a police officer and why it's important that you understand about ADHD and other hidden disabilities and neurodivergencies?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm honored to be the first guest on here for this talk. So, um, being in law enforcement, I've seen just a lot of um, different obstacles that citizens face, and I've also dealt with young adults and children. And with some of my experiences as teaching, which I taught dare and grade for about 4 years, working in the schools gave me such an eye opener to the struggles of the students. And even though students may not necessarily always call 911, their parents do. And they may call us because they're struggling on how to deal with their children. When you're able to recognize like yourself in these kids or the students, and when I say recognize yourself, like with me being diagnosed with ADHD later in life, I wasn't diagnosed as a kid, but I would see that I had some of these I'll call them maybe a dysfunction that I didn't realize, like it's on my report card, talks too much or easily distracted or hard to stay on task. Noticing some of those things when I was teaching in the classroom or when I would go to the citizens' homes and they're needing our assistance with kids really made me understand and realize the importance of being diagnosed and recognizing ADHD. So I think that when you're in a space and you're around a lot of people and you have that crisis, you don't always understand or focus on why this is happening. You just want it to stop, right? But if you can understand the why, then you can understand the strategy on how to maybe work around it or, come up with a solution. And that is a lot of what law enforcement is. It's different crises happening a lot because no one's calling 911 because they're having a great day. So, what I have learned in my experience in law enforcement um, is that you have to learn conflict resolution as well as see like the bigger problem, right? Because normally when people call us, the problem didn't start that day. So children that have maybe behavior situations going on, that didn't start that day. And a lot of times as parents, and me being a parent myself, you don't always know the strategies to handle things. You just want it to stop. And so I really want to dive into, with my talk in August, strategies versus willpower because people think, well, if you want this bad enough, you're just going to do it. If you want to be good, you're going to be good. You're not going to be bad. You're going to act really good, right? And it's not that easy. Like, no kid or no adult walks around wanting to be bad. So as I
Right.
transition out of law enforcement and transition into my new journey and my new career as a life coach, I just want to help people adjust and understand that it's not the willpower. Willpower is really finite, but it's the strategies. You have to strategize and understand what you can do to be successful. And I'll just give a quick, anecdote or story rather of myself. I am distracted easily, right? I get distracted. Ever since I was a kid, that was on my report card. Like, I don't know how they do report cards nowadays because my kids are older, but report cards back then, they had little boxes and they would check off on there, distracted easily or talks too much or something like that, right?
Right.
And I had to learn that as a teacher, because I've been a teacher, and as an instructor, because I've been an instructor as well, that things that people do distract me. So I do get distracted easily, and I never really understood that. So one of the ways that I would strategize against it is if I am teaching, I would make sure to ask everyone to kind of put away all distractions and then make it to where not only is it engaging for them, it's engaging for me. So my talks are very active and engaging, if that makes sense. I don't believe in death by PowerPoint. There's nothing wrong with the PowerPoint for all my fans who love a PowerPoint. I love a PowerPoint too. But I don't necessarily have to work from a PowerPoint. It's there for the information, but I really enjoy the interactive learning component. That way, everyone can be involved and no one is sitting there lost in their thoughts. Because when I am the attendee to PowerPoint presentations, one of my strategies, I have to sit down and write. Like I'm writing the entire time, not because I'm writing down everything they're saying, but to help me focus, I have to write, right? Like that's one of my strategies to help me focus and not be distracted because
So
otherwise I'm like thinking.
it sounds like you have like the perfect case study for, a child who on early report cards was talking too much and then have had multiple different careers over the time. That is kind of ADHD in a nutshell right there. Did you learn some of these strategies just on your own from childhood and beyond, or was this something that led you to your coaching certification?
Some of the things I learned just by looking them up or talking to other people and reading, and absolutely having a mentor. My mentor
Mhm.
really pushed me towards um, coaching, and he's always pushing me to read, like just, read multiple books and helping me to grow. So, different experiences as I was a kid and just going back and having that reflection. And it's funny, Kristen, that you mentioned a lot of different jobs. I was someone that hopped around from job to job to job because I used to get bored easily. Like just I'm kind of bored here. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't know what to do with this. But not realizing that that had anything to do with something inside of me, right? Like in my brain, there's more. Because I'm like, how can people stay somewhere for 40 years? That's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
but now understanding it. So I would say a combination of my life experiences and having a mentor and then just wanting to know being a forever learner.
Mhm. That
So
is
those are things.
amazing. And I think that really speaks to people with ADHD need that novelty in life. They need change, they need excitement to help them be able to focus on whatever it is. And so they might hyper focus on one area for a while, but then it becomes boring. So then they move on. So,
Yes.
um,
And a lot of times it's finding your niche in something to where you can have your stability yet your change. Kind of get the best of both worlds. And that's something that as a life coach, I would love to focus on helping individuals understanding that because that is something that I've lived through and kind of struggled with. And I feel like I'm beginning to now master and understand how to do these things. And I want to help others.
well, and most of your careers have been helping others, teaching and police officer. You have held those service type careers or jobs, however you want
Yes.
to look at that. Um,
Yes, that is so
so,
true.
and it's interesting how you parallel parenting with police officer and, of course, the coaching. So I don't know if you want to speak more to that, how parents
Yes.
can use
So
some of these skills.
absolutely. I would say with parenting, and for me, everyone disclaimer, I'm no expert, right? I'm just going off of my own parenting of my own two children. So I have an 18-year-old and a 24-year-old. And I have learned it was a lot of trial and error with parenting, especially. I parented my children at different ages, right? I have my daughter at 21 and I have my son at 27. So even though I had both kids in my 20s, I was different in my maturity and coming to a different understanding. And I would say now, one of the greatest things I was able to do as I learned is, and I'm sure the eldest child doesn't get the same mature parent, right? You just don't, because
No
it
matter
doesn't
how old
matter.
the parent
And
is.
right, and I say this to say, if you're a parent that has a kid at 27 and then has your second kid at 33, the child that came at 33 is still going to get a different parent than the one that came at
Mhm.
27, because age doesn't matter, your life experiences matter. And so no matter what age you are, if you've never been a parent, you have to go through that first parenting phase. And what I mean by that is, as a first parent, you may go through things and have a plan of what to do, right? Like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it may or may not work. And then you have your second child, or, just your second opportunity at parenting, and you are able to go back and look at what worked or what didn't work. And so tying this back to our ADHD and how to really focus, I never really understood the importance of writing things down or making it visual for myself. And I would say now that is something huge that I use as a tool, right? I have the calendar on my refrigerator. It's a clear calendar it's a magnet, and you can put it on your refrigerator. It's clear, as well as just a clear board to write notes. In my son's room, I have a dry erase board on his wall so that I can write notes like, don't forget to make your bed, don't forget to clean your bathroom. And if he can see it, it's not mom nagging, it's him having an opportunity to make that choice. And he told me at one point in time, he's like, Mom, I got up today and I thought about you, and I go, hey, make sure you make your bed. Like, he just like said the whole thing, but I'm sure the board has helped, right? So that I'm not constantly having to speak and say those things. Because for me, you never want to overparent, but you feel like you overparent, like you're constantly repeating yourself. But
Right.
making something visual, that's a tool, that's a strategy, you know?
Exactly.
And having that opportunity to understand that you have to strategize so that you're not doing too much. Minimize your crisis inside your home, like you said. So it all kind of leads up, because otherwise you're constantly repeating yourself with the same thing. But if you create those opportunities to be successful, create a checklist or create time awareness is huge. When we look
Yes.
at executive functioning, our working memory. How many times has
Right.
someone said, "Where are my keys?" I don't know where the keys are. Or the kids are like, I don't know where my shoes are. What do you mean you don't know where your shoes are? We're trying to get out the door. So keys and shoes, you're trying to find those things. But if you strategize and you have a home and everything has a spot and it's something that you can, a consistent routine, then you're able to truly be a little bit more successful.
Exactly. And I presume that's what your whole talk August 6th will be about, is some of these tools that families can use. Because if you just tell your kids to try harder or just do it, they're going to get lost. So they need those executive functioning tools to help them. So I
Absolutely,
think
Kristen.
it's going to be a fabulous talk, and I'm super excited about it. Um, Tell me about your coaching business. Where are you with that?
So, with my life coaching, I have been coaching, and currently I am working on writing a ebook to add to my coaching website that I'm working on getting up probably mid July to end of July. And it's just to assist individuals that want to kind of get leadership skills, executive coaching, conflict resolution. And when I say conflict resolution, I am referring to basic conflict management. There's times that we come into conflict with something as simple as, and I'll start with something like inside the home, right? Like, it's not your turn to ride in the front seat for siblings. That's a conflict nonetheless. or you're having a conflict because of, you know, we don't agree on the curfew time. So it could be something as small as that, or it could be something as workplace conflict for adults. Whereas you have a coworker that you don't see eye to eye with. And when you think about conflict, a lot of times, Kristen, the conflict stems from misunderstandings, right? So if
Mhm.
you don't know an individual, it's hard to receive the information and not know them like you've had to know them for the past 3 or 4 years. But if you and I are colleagues, Kristen, and we're communicating information, and I'll just use an example via text. If you and I have only known each other for a couple of months and I'm not sure your tone or your demeanor or your energy, I may read something and receive it incorrectly, or I may receive the email that you send me incorrectly because I don't know you. I've not taken the time to know you. But if I take just a little bit of time to know you, that will absolve almost that conflict that could have happened because I can say, you know what? Kristen is a helper and she doesn't mean anything personal by this. She's trying to help me, right? And it can bring that defense down that we sometimes will have up when we don't understand someone's positioning as to the information that's being shared. So just
That
kind
is
of
a fantastic example. Already today, I have amended one of my texts because I sent it and I thought, ooh, the tone might be read wrong. So I added
mhm,
a second text to follow up to clarify that I wasn't thinking the person had done something wrong. It was just the situation that didn't turn out fantastically. So I
right.
think we can watch our own tones, but also try to watch how others might be perceived and if that's their true intention or not. So I think that's a fantastic
And I
life
like how you said
coaching.
that, Kristen. You amended it. You know, it's not that you're going to take it back, but you just wanted to make sure that that individual was able to receive your words because a lot of times with conflict management or just conflict resolution, the person will get caught on one sentence or one word and miss the rest of it. I mean, what's that saying? You can't see the forest for the trees. And you're
Exactly. Yeah.
so, you know, that can end up happening to us. And just developing as a leader with my coaching business, developing leaders, we all have a leader within us. And we don't have to necessarily lead others, but it's really important to know how to lead ourselves in a successful way.
I love that. That is a very powerful way to look at how we live our lives. So
Yes.
that is fantastic. I did forget at the beginning, I was going to mention that you are also one of our newest ADHDKC board members. So, welcome to the team
Yeah.
there. What led you to ADHDKC? How did you find out about it?
I have a really I have a best friend named Nicole Smith, and she says to me, Layla, I think this would be great for you. You're always talking about ADHD and how you have ADHD. And I think this will be a great opportunity for you to not only learn more, but to partake in this opportunity to make a difference. And I had not heard of ADHDKC. I didn't know that there was a support opportunity available. And when I began reading more about the opportunities and joined CHAD, the national organization, and became aware of all the podcasts available, the webinars, I was like a kid in a candy store, honestly, Kristen. It really intrigued me because the minute you're able to learn yourself and learn more about the things that you thought were quote unquote broken, it's like,
Mhm.
yay, there's more people that are like me and I'm not broken. And even if you don't know a single soul that is struggling with maybe something you're struggling with, it puts it in perspective that you have an understanding of what you have been living with. And then it also functions as an opportunity for you to successfully find ways to tackle these struggles that you may have been having. So it's almost as though you've been playing basketball or soccer or boxing or anything without a playbook, and someone says, hey, you know, there's a playbook, right? And you're like, stop it. There's a playbook to this? And
I
you've just
love
been
that.
making it up all along. And so the playbook is here, and it just feels great.
Yeah, I think, of course, CHAD is a national organization and they are recently joining with some of the other ADHD groups. to be even bigger and stronger. And when you get a diagnosis and learn that it is very common to have some of these dysfunctions that you are struggling with, and that other people are there along with you, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are proven techniques to help. Some of it involves medication, but some of it is just learning these tools and strategies. I think you find your tribe and you become validated. And as a pediatrician in my other life, I oftentimes see families who are afraid of a diagnosis, and I really would encourage them to get an early diagnosis so that they can help validate their child and some of the problems and the issues that they're facing in their home, and learn the tools. And of course, you don't need a diagnosis. It sounds like you learned some of these tools on your own just by researching and learning what other people have done for similar problems, but packaging it all together, I really think can help. I know a lot of adults who were diagnosed as adults, and they think back to how childhood could have been so much better had their parents been able to give them the supports they needed and the tools they needed. So I'm sure that's part of what coaches do as well. And then from the medical side, I can help with the medical aspects of it. So I am super excited to hear Leila talk. The Strategies versus Willpower, Tackling Executive Dysfunction, August 6th at 6:30 p.m. This is going to be offered online, but also in person at the Anita B. Gorman Center, which is on Troost, 4750 Troost in Kansas City, Missouri. ADHDKC is working on trying new locations, and this one just looks absolutely amazing. The Anita B. Gorman Center, you can stop by early, check out some of their paved nature trails, and some exhibits inside the building. Exercise helps clear the mind. Studies have shown that if you take a walk before going to school, you actually will perform better at school. So maybe get there early, walk on some of their beautiful trails, and then come in when your brain can focus and listen to Leila talk about executive functioning skills. And again, her talk is at 6:30 on August 6th. You can sign up by following the links on the ADHDKC.org/events page or from our newsletter. And I really do hope that people can join Leila and learn more about helping your kids develop executive functioning. So, Leila, do you have any other final thoughts?
No, I hope to see everyone on August 6th. Thank you.
Yeah, I am very much looking forward to it. Thank you for joining me today in this first ever podcast guest role. So thank you very much for being here.
You're welcome, Kristen.